is with Deputy Kathleen Funchion again.
Thanks, Ciarán Carla. Minister, this question is in relation to childcare and early year services and the delays in public payments or shortfalls in payments to early year services since August of this year, and why there has been no correspondence or notifications made by Pobal with those services affected. Thanks.
As you know, Deputy Pobal administer both the early childhood care and education or ECHI and targeted early learning and care and school-age childcare programs on behalf of my department. There have been no delays to the ECHI standard capitation program payments. All eligible ECHI standard capitation payments have been paid out in line with the payment schedule published as part of program readiness in August. The first preliminary payment was made on the 23rd of August. This payment was made to all services that had entered into a funding agreement by the published deadline. But in relation to the ECHI higher capitation payments, Pobal announced to services prior to the beginning of the 2019-20 program year in September that they would begin processing applications in October. Regrettably, the start date was later than had been indicated the previous year. Pobal has begun processing applications in October in line with the announced schedule, and Pobal is currently processing a large volume of applications and is working to approve the applications and to release funding as soon as possible. I know that there have also been some issues around the Community Childcare Subvention Plus program, whereby the processing of registrations has been taking longer than usual to complete, owing to the large volume of CCSP registrations being made following the merging of that program with the CCS program. As of the 17th of October last, Pobal had registered 30,000 children to the CCSP program, compared to 23,000 at a similar point in last year's process. Further, there's also been a significant block of work for Pobal associated with a large volume of re-registrations of children due to corrections that needed to be made to their registrations following a compliance business. So, notwithstanding these issues, I think, which Pobal are working hard to mitigate, I would stress that the majority of registrations for the targeted schemes and the standard capitation levels for ECHI are being turned around within Pobal's 15-day target for this activity.
Minister, there has to be some misinformation somewhere in relation to that, because that is not the situation and the case for many services in Kilkenny who have contacted me to say they are actually dipping into their own money to try and pay staff wages because there's been such a delay, and the problem that they have is that nobody is talking to them, that they have to go chase down Pobal, that no one is coming to them to say there's an issue, there's a problem, here's a preliminary payment to keep it going. That's not what's happening on the ground. As of the 4th of October, a service in Kilkenny was given a preliminary payment. That payment was then taken back out of the bank account. So there's definitely some misinformation going on somewhere. It's not acceptable that people have to try. I mean, I would say the vast majority of people would not have their own funds to be able to dip into to keep a service going. But even if they did, that's completely not the point. It's totally unacceptable. They might be saying that there's some glitches and that they're dealing with it, but they're definitely not dealing with it for these services. And if you want, I can forward these particular details of these services onto you. There's a number of them in Kilkenny that have been left short of money with absolutely no answers. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Deputy. And yes, of course, I'd love to have that information, and I accept, take at face value what you're identifying there. I think my understanding is, I mean, in terms of communication, at least initially, though, that they did issue, Pobal did issue an announcement to services through the PIP system on the 19th of August 2019, informing them that applications would not begin to be processed until October. And I know that officials in my department are in close contact with colleagues in Pobal with regard to the processing of those timelines. So I think that's the first issue. The second issue is what you're saying is, though, so I think they did go through the regular channels where they communicate with the services, as I understand it. You're talking about that there are several services that are actually out of pocket, that they haven't been communicated maybe when they're communicating with Pobal. So I mean, all I can say is I think we'd have to take that information from you and look into that.
I will obviously forward these on to you afterwards, but their issue isn't with the delays in terms of everyone understands in life that there can be delays or there can be glitches with systems, but the issue was the lack of communication and then preliminary payments being made and then taken back with no explanation. So that seemed to be the big issue for them, but I will definitely forward on the details and see if we can get to the bottom of it for these services. Thanks, Ceann Comhairle, and thanks, Minister.
Okay.